The NBA lottery is about to begin. Kyle, Robo, Tanner are on their way over. They're going to give their predictions next. My top four, I'm going to go Pacers 1, Hornets 2, Pistons 3, Rockets 4. Gina, are the Pistons going to get picked number 1?
No.
All right, Robo. Top 4 picks. Who's it going to be?
Spurs, Jazz, Thunder, Blazers, Pistons, Rockets.
Kyle, top 4. Who's it going to be?
Pistons, Orlando. I'm gonna go Indiana, and then fourth I'm gonna say a Wizards jump to 4.
Nice. Tanner, who's your top 4?
Spurs get 1, Blazers get 2, Jazz for 3, and Rockets for 4. Pistons get 5 because they suck.
The 14th pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, presented by State Farm, will be made by
Pelicans
the
are
New
14.
Orleans Pelicans.
No, they'll tell us.
The 13th pick
Will
belongs
be Jazz, I
to
think. No, Toronto. You're right.
the
Jazz
Toronto
is 12.
Raptors.
What the orders do we know?
No, the Thunder. The Thunder.
Oh yeah, the Thunder is 12. Thunder is 12.
Bulls, right?
The
Thunder, Bulls,
They're gonna
Mavericks.
give Wemby to the Thunder.
Thunder, Bulls, Mavericks. Yes, they
I actually got really
Thank
nervous.
God.
They
I don't need
gave-
it. They have a cheddar already. I don't need it.
According to form.
All right, this
Fuck
is
you.
Bulls. This is Bulls. This
The
is Bulls.
11th pick in the
Please
NBA
Bulls. Don't be
Draft will go
Mavericks.
to
Bulls, not Mavericks.
Whoa.
The Bulls. The Bulls.
Mavericks.
Bulls. It's been the Bulls. Bulls. Yeah, no,
That's not in
the
order.
Bulls
It's in
only
order.
kept their
Is
pick
it
to the
in
top
order?
4.
Yes,
Yeah, that's in
Mavericks.
order.
Mavericks.
That has to be Mavericks.
Janitary?
That's to be Mavericks. Has to be Mavericks.
They're going to jump.
We're good.
Yes,
Oh,
okay.
No one jumps. No one jumps.
All right, this has nothing to do with us.
I don't know who it is.
This has nothing to do with us. This is I think it's the Jazz or 8 or 7. 8 or 9.
This trade.
8 or 9 of the Jazz.
the 9th pick goes
Handshake.
to
Pacers?
Jazz.
the Utah Jazz.
Is that orders?
No.
Is that orders?
Nobody jumped.
Hey,
They were
guys,
9.
hand check. Hand check.
The 8th pick will be made by
Wizards. Everything's the same.
No one
No
jumps.
way.
We're getting that 4.
Okay, hold on. We can still be
Wait.
5.
Okay, this could be Spurs. This is the first time somebody
the
gives out 4
7th
spots.
pick
This
in
is
the
the
NBA
Spurs.
Draft
Who's
belongs
it supposed to
to
be?
Pacers.
the
So no
Indiana
one jumped?
Pacers.
So far, no.
No one jumped.
No one jumped so far, I don't think.
This is huge for us. We can stay top 5.
Okay, this could be Rockets. This could be
This is
Rockets.
Rockets.
It's Rockets, Hornets,
We're
Spurs,
gonna be
or
top 5,
Wizards.
but we're gonna be.
Magic.
Your Orlando Magic.
No, they're the same.
Everything going to.
So imagine.
Everything's the same. Everything's the same.
Anything less?
Okay, this could be us.
Anything
No,
less?
this
Let's
could be us.
go!
This could be us. This
So
could be
please
us.
end this
This
real.
could be us. This could be us. This could be
The
us. This
5th
could be us.
pick will be made by
Oh!
Detroit Pistons.
Are you
Wow.
kidding me, bro?
Detroit fell all the way out.
1 to 5.
And that means there are 4 remaining. Houston, San Antonio, the
The
Charlotte
Blazers are in the top 4.
What's your thoughts?
Asur Thompson and Amen Thompson are both busts. Neither of them have played against anybody above the age of 14 since they were 5. Terrible.
Cal?
We're done.
This is what was always going to happen. This was the most expected outcome. We get to draft Stanley Johnson 2.0, I guess.
We might as well trade
Tanner?
Nick Force in the Johnson.
Who's surprised? Nobody. Nobody's surprised.
Well, Spurs were getting Wemby, and I think everybody knew that for a long time now. So, and scoot to the Hornets. That also is kind of a known. Welcome to our first podcast for All Bark. This is going to be a special for the NBA lottery. We have our 2 NBA experts, Kyle and Robo, and yep, we're gonna. So the first half of this video will be our reactions to the pre-lottery, and then this is going to be reactions and kind of summarizing what we think is going to happen after the lottery has come out. So the results have come in that the Spurs get pick 1, Charlotte gets pick 2, Trailblazers 3, Houston 4, Pistons 5, Magic 6, Pacers 7, Wizards 8, Jazz 9, Mavericks 10, Orlando gets the Bulls pick at 11. The Thunder got picked 12, 13 was the Raptors, and 14 was the Pelicans. So basically what we saw was picks 6 through 14 stayed the same, where the Bulls pick ended up going to the Magic because it stayed. The Pistons fell from 1 to 5, and the Trailblazers, Hornets, and Spurs all jumped up in the draft. So going off of what we saw, let's start with you, Kyle. Who are your biggest winners of the night from the lottery?
I mean, biggest winner, first off, obviously, is San Antonio. They win Wemby. That was the number 1 race for all these teams. it was pretty typical considering their history of big men with Tim Duncan and David Robinson and the Popovich narrative. So a lot of people want to say that was rigged. Very well could have been, but biggest winners for them right there, 100% getting Wemby. Second, I would have to say it's definitely Portland because they jumped up from, I think, was it 8 or 9?
No, they were
they were 5, I think.
They were 5.
Yeah.
Oh,
They lost.
Yeah, because only the top 5 switched around. 6 through 14 stayed the same.
Either way,
They were 5.
You can jump up into the top 3 from anywhere is a huge win, considering they're trying to win with Dame still and adding more talent they can get for whatever they're doing, and being able to grab Miller, that pick most likely is going to help them out a lot with the core they have currently and keeping Dame happy. So that should be huge for them. And then third, the biggest winner after that is obviously going to be Charlotte for me. They get Scoot. Pairing him with LaMelo is going to be a pretty dynamic backcourt. My issue with that is defense, but at the same time, if you outscore your opponents, you're never going to lose, right? So that should be pretty exciting to watch develop, and really to kind of see who becomes the true number one there. If they re-sign LaMelo as well, is it going to be LaMelo as the number one, or is it going to be Scoot as the number one? Kind of like Boston with 2 dynamic scorers, they can both play make. So we'll see what happens. But for me, those are definitely the top 3 winners. Biggest loser, I would say, is obviously Detroit, falling 1-5. Not good, but everything happens for a reason, I guess you could say. And we'll have to see what happens on draft night.
Robo?
Yeah, I definitely think the biggest winner has to be the Spurs. Everybody's been tanking for this guy all season long. Some harder than others, like the Spurs, and some people were forced into tanking. I think the Pistons would have been in this area no matter what, but with the Cade injury, they just absolutely were not going to win more than 20, 25 games no matter what. 17 wins all season, and they fall to 5. They're definitely the biggest loser by far. Still think they've got a good future. They're in a good position no matter what, but falling from where they were projected to be 1 all the way down to 5, farthest anyone's fallen so far, farthest you can fall. It's definitely a big loss for the Pistons tonight. And then, of course, top 3, the Blazers not falling is huge for them because they're trying to do everything they can to rebuild with Dame. So the higher the pick, the more the trade value if they decide to trade it, or the better the player they can get to surround Dame with Dame. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the draft after pick 1. Obviously, I think pick 2 is pretty unanimous, except for ESPN apparently. But I mean, I guess technically the Hornets could see something with, hey, LaMelo's our lead guard. We don't want another lead guard, and they could go Miller, which
I think that would make it interesting.
Maybe that makes it interesting because then do the Blazers take Scoot and say, okay, Dame, do you want to go somewhere else, or do they say, hey, pick 3 now has the value of a normal pick 1, so who's going to give us the best offer for this pick? And I could see teams desperate for a lead guard. Maybe like the Rockets, who could be offering multiple players and a trade back, or a team like the Jazz, who may be desperate to make something if they really want a lead guard for their future. Maybe Lowry opens up on the trade block, because Scoot is simply put a generational prospect by a lot of people's accounts. I think he would have been number 1 pick if this wasn't this level of prospect with Wembanyama. So we could definitely see some crazy stuff happen on draft night, but I do think I expect the Hornets to take Scoot number 2. So they're definitely those are definitely biggest winners for me as well.
So I think what you guys are saying is correct. Looking at tonight, obviously the Pistons were the biggest loser tonight, and the Spurs were the biggest winner. But from me, I'm going to look more long term from this lottery. I actually think the Pistons and the Magic got lucky despite not being in the top picks, because when you really sit back and think about it, the only player in the top 5 outside of the Pistons that is going to the East is Scoot, and he's going to a Hornets team which isn't realistically going to compete anytime soon. I think that's going to be able to help Orlando and Pistons young cores speed up and move into a playoff role and be able to develop playoff experience faster. So I do like that in a sense, and maybe they get good players at 5 and 6. And Orlando also got the Bulls pick at 11, which was pretty good for them as well. Honestly, for the biggest loser for me, I'm probably going to have to say Houston, because when I sit back and look at the NBA, the 3 worst maybe cores or futures right now look to be the Hornets, the Spurs, and the Rockets. And it just so happened that the Hornets and Spurs got picks 1 and 2. It's probably going to be Victor and Scoot. And, I mean, really, Amon might be the guy there for Houston at 4, but I don't think he really helps them in any need that they really need.
Besides defense, yeah.
Correct, yeah. And I don't know what Houston's going to do.
One defender is not going to be able to move the needle enough to where they're going to become a better defensive team as well. So
yeah, so I'm going more long term on this, I guess. But yeah, I think tonight the biggest winner obviously was the Spurs. Whoever got pick 1 was going to be the biggest winner. Obviously, you could see with the Spurs. Was that their GM that was cheering like that? Who was that?
I'm not sure.
That was too cringe for me.
Yeah. So and obviously the Pistons, of course, fell to 5, which we expected, but it sucks to see. So, moving on, I do want you guys to do. We were going to do top 10. Let's do top 14. Let's do the lottery picks that fallen. I'm going to put a 30-second timer on my phone. You guys are going to alternate picks if you are that GM for that team. And who wants to start? Robo or Kyle? Which one you guys?
We'll just alternate with starting at 1.
Yep. So whoever one of you guys will be odd picks, the other one will be even. And I'll start the timer and I'll tell you which team is on the clock, and you got to give me your pick.
Do you want to just flip for one? We'll just say.
All right, I got a number. I got a number, and then I'll show it up 1 through 5.
All right, I'll go 2.
All right, Robo, you're up. Yep.
All right. Obviously, Spurs taking Wemby. It's a no-brainer.
Okay, you got 30 seconds to explain your pick and make your pick. You got 27 seconds left.
Okay, so there really is no explaining here. This is the best prospect since LeBron James. Some like Woj said today he thinks he's the best prospect ever. I actually did hear Woj say, I don't remember who he said told him this. I think he said there were some executives that believe that Wemby could be a top 5 offensive player and top 5 defensive player in the league before he turns 25.
5 seconds.
So it's pretty much. LeBron at 7'5".
Okay. Kyle, you're on the clock. 30 seconds right now. Hornets are on the clock.
I'm not going to get crazy. I think it's going to be Scoot Henderson. Just getting that backcourt with LaMelo will be huge. Also, you can move off of Rozier, which I think his time in Charlotte's probably done. They could go Miller if they really want to, or do a trade back, but I think Scoot's the pick there. Pair with LaMelo, like I said, add that dynamic backcourt. Not get crazy, just take the best player available, and that's Scoot Henderson number 2.
Yeah, I think also there could be some good scenarios for Rozier trades. I think there's some contenders that would be willing to take on a shooter like him.
Robo, you are now on the clock as the Portland Trail Blazers.
I'm going to take Brandon Miller here just because straight fit. I think if they're not going to trade the pick and they want to keep it, Dame, Simons, Miller, Grant, Nurkic is a pretty solid starting 5. You run Sharp off the bench. Spend some money to upgrade some bench pieces there, and you've got a really solid team that definitely should be at least in the play-in hunt next season. If they can stay healthy, they had horrible health this year, I think they could be a top 8 seed in the West.
Okay. Kyle, you're on the clock at 4 if you're the Houston Rockets.
I'm going to go best player available here, and I think for most people's boards, just ceiling-wise and projection-wise, you got to go Amen Thompson. 6'7", possible lead guard, possible point guard in his career. Can defend, can score. Not really from 3 yet, but can get to the rim like a smaller Zion, really. And just really penetrate the defense and kick out the shooters. Houston has to go best player available, best ceiling, and that's going to be Amen Thompson at pick 4.
Robo, you are on the clock as the Detroit Pistons at 5. This is where it starts getting tricky.
As Troy Weaver, I'm looking at 3 guys. It's Jarris Walker, Asar Thompson, and Cam Whitmore. All 3 play different positions. They all can, they're all versatile guards and wings and big men. Asar can play 1, 2, 3. Cam can run pretty much anything, and then Jarris Walker is an elite defender. I think for now I'm going to take Cam Whitmore just because of athleticism and fit. So I'll go Cam Whitmore to the Pistons. So that's it.
All right. Cam Whitmore to the Pistons at 5. Kyle, you're on the clock at 6 for the Magic.
At 6, they could do a couple of different things if they want. They could do a trade back. They could even trade 6 and 11 to move up. But if I'm the Magic, I'm probably going to go for Asar Thompson, take the upside there as well. He's not going to be as on ball as his brother, which helps out with Paolo and Markelle Fultz playing off playing off of them with Franz as well. He can develop into a good catch and shoot shooter and a plus defender for them, and he can also attack the rim in space. And I think for them, that just adds another versatile wing to their offense, which they're kind of building around right now. So I would go with Ausar Thompson, highest ceiling at that time in the draft.
Now to stop and go off of that, do you guys think, like if you're the Magic and you're looking at Ausar here, are you looking for him to kind of replace Suggs? Maybe Suggs hasn't lived up to what they thought he was going to be. Is that a possible fit for their future point guard?
I think Suggs will still be there. I think Suggs will be a better shooter than him as well. Maybe not. We'll see what happens. They're both really good defenders. Ausar is a little bit bigger, probably a better athlete as well. I think having both is a good problem to have. One can be off.
I think. Yeah. Oh, you can go ahead and finish.
I'm done.
I definitely think Ausar wouldn't start right off the bat. They'd probably continue with Fultz and
I forgot they had
Suggs.
Fultz,
Fultz and Suggs.
Harris at the 2 for a while.
I think they'll run Suggs to the 2. They're gonna try to continue to push the experiment with him as a scoring guard, and then if it's not working out, just the pure defensive ability of Ausar and the ceiling he has, they'll give him as many minutes as they can to develop. But because of how raw of a talent he is right now, I think he'll come off the bench to start. They're gonna give him some time to develop a bit, keep Suggs in the rotation because they know they're going to be a play-in level team no matter what. So
there's no pressure with that player. He can take his time.
And then if he develops into a star, I think then you consider, okay, is Suggs a bench guy for us, or is his value high enough to where we can move him for a real bench player and pick up another asset or something?
All right, Robo, you are on the clock at 7 with the Indiana Pacers.
I think the Pacers would take Jarris Walker here. Looking at their roster, the really only thing they were missing this season was a power forward. They already have Halliburton, Ben Mathurin, Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
They had Chris Duarte, who didn't play a lot this year. A lot of wings that could shoot the ball pretty well. Miles Turner, and then Jarris Walker. I think defensive versatility between Walker and Turner would be scary. That's going to be like an elite front court duo there in Indiana.
All right. Kyle, you're on the clock at 8 with the Wizards.
The Wizards are kind of the 2010 Pistons, where they're always in that weird spot, picking like 7 to 12. So you never really know what to do there. You probably have to take best player available whenever it's there. And I think at this pick, depends on who you ask, I would go Taylor Hendricks here, just for the upside as a defender, kind of a modern 4, can run in transition, catch lobs, catch and shoot, play off Beal. And if they lose Porzingis, he can kind of slot into that 4 for them, even though he's a lot smaller. But he did measure in at 6'9", 6'10", so he's got some good height to him too. So I would go Taylor Hendricks here.
All right, Robo, on the clock at 9, you're the Utah Jazz.
I think the Jazz definitely are going to hope for Hendricks in this spot. I think they can see the defensive ability between him and Walker Kessler and that and athleticism he has. But obviously, if the Wizards take him, I think the Jazz may transition to a guard spot here, which would be Anthony Black, I think, is the best guard available. He's a 6'7" playmaker who can get to the rim, great defender. Definitely a bit raw, has some developing to do, especially with the jump shot, but the Jazz have time, and they've got a few big pieces already. So.
All right, Kyle, you are on the clock again at pick 10. Dallas Mavericks, what are they going to do?
Dallas, once again, I mean, do you draft for fit? Do you draft for talent? You have Luka. Obviously, you need to make him happy. You kind of look at the roster, see where you're at, and you just take the best player available. I still think you do that, and that would be at pick 10. Who would that be at pick 10? I guess you can go a number of guys, but I think for their sake, you would go Grady Dick.
I actually thought the same thing. I think he fits Mavericks a lot.
Yeah.
Again,
that could be a skin color thing, but
you could also heavily for a Wizard them if they don't go guard. But
yeah, he's a very slept-on defender.
I don't think there's a guaranteed pick right there. It's kind of whatever you like, and whoever's number 1 on your board at that time. For me, it would be Dick for his potential as a shooter and just a scorer in general.
Is he kind of like a Grayson Allen type playmaker or a player? No, I guess he's more like defense plus really the shooter.
Style wing that can really do it.
Yeah, his skin color makes you think that he's like a JJ Redick but he's like 6'8".
He's a good defender, isn't he?
Can dribble, can defend, can shoot, dunk. He's a super defender, very good guard.
Going to be a good player.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be a guy that you'll be thinking, why didn't he go probably top 10?
Yeah.
All right, Robo, you're on the clock. You have the Bulls pick that is now the Magic.
Magic here. A lot of different ways they can go because there's not many things of need with the Magic. They're already a pretty solid team. We have them taken, or Kyle had them taking Asar Thompson earlier. They could go Cason Wallace and just rebuild the guard depth, but I think they have a lot of guards, especially with Cole Anthony and stuff. They may go with a wing here.
They could Markel Falls. Who knows who they really want?
Yeah, it's tough because
It was good, but who knows?
it's not a great spot for wings. I think it could be a position they maybe reach on. They could also go with offense and just say, we need somebody who can go get bucks off the bench. It could be a place for Jet Howard. I don't think Jet Howard should go this high, but I think the Magic look at it and say, he could be a guy that's high on their board, and he's a great shooter. So we'll go with Jet Howard.
I mean, they got a bunch of Michigan guys already, so.
Yeah, that's true. Chemistry would be off the charts there.
All right, Kyle, on the board, pick 12. Who do the Thunder add to their dynasty?
For this, it would depend on their board and how they believe Chet will look long term as a center, or more as a modern four. For them, I would probably go Derek Lively. They desperately need Chet will be a good
center, yeah.
They need a solidified five if Chet can't play the five, or struggles for some matchups, or maybe he's just too good offensively. They want to have him play a four, play more outside like Porzingis. I would go Lively here to solidify that front court. Even if he comes off the bench, that's completely fine. But just give them somebody that can really rim protect and defend at the rim versus putting all the pressure on Chet as a rookie really next year.
No, I agree. I think Chet should definitely be the four of this team. I think if you're going to take a look at someone like Wemby, Porzingis, same kind of builds, you got to play him on the outside. Look at what happened last year when Chet got injured, playing in the paint against, or trying to contest LeBron in the paint. Just try to minimize the injury risk with Chet, I think, is the way to go. So I like that pick. Robo, pick 13. You're the Raptors. We got your last pick of the lottery.
I think Keontae George is the guy that probably shouldn't be here this late, but does he fit the Raptors? I think the Raptors could look to move on from Fred VanVleet this year, so that could lead them to go for a point guard in this draft. Cason Wallace is an elite defender. That's something the Raptors really badly need. They also go for a guy like Kobe Buffkin, who's an elite combo guard, who's come all the way up to the lottery in terms of mocks. And then Nick Smith, a guy who fell, who was supposed to go in the top 5, is another option there. I think, though, I'm going to go with Cason Wallace here just because I think the Raptors badly need to improve their defense in the backcourt.
All right, Kyle, your last pick as well. Who do the New Orleans Pelicans add with their core of CJ, Zion, and Brandon Ingram?
I'm going to go best player available once again here, and that could be a number of different players, but I think for them, their best pick here would be Kobe Buffkin. Solidify a combo guard that can score, that can pass, play off CJ McCollum, play off Zion, play off Ingram. I think he could start right away at the 2. Who was starting for them at the 2 this past year?
CJ,
It was CJ, because they have Dyson Daniels as well. But
Dyson didn't really play much.
CJ's undersized. Right. Yeah. I honestly feel
they need another guard, and I don't know if Dyson's ready to step up as that starter yet.
Yeah.
He is good for them. Bring Kobe off the bench. That's a good combo guard that can play both positions and play with either McCollum or Daniels. Because if Daniels is in, Buffkin can be more of a scorer. If McCollum's in, he may be more of a facilitator. So
and
really point guard's their only hole, right?
Yeah, and especially because their backup, their third guard was Kira Lewis, and so that's not a guy that you can trust right now. Whereas Buffkin also is one of the best defenders in this draft as well. People are really high on his defensive instincts.
Keep in mind
the shot blocking.
Pistons trading back and picking him up possibly. So
yeah.
Okay. All right, guys.
I think it makes a lot of sense there.
Thanks for giving your intake. I think for people like me, I don't know too much about the rookies yet, so hearing some of those names, it'll be interesting, I think, to see if you guys had to give one player who you guys did not draft in the top 14, who you think is going to be maybe the best value player in the entire draft outside of the lottery. Who do you think that's going to be?
If Keontae George doesn't go in the lottery, it's got to be him because he's a guy that could go as high as like 6 or 7. But a guy that I think outside of the lottery that's not likely to be there that is that high could either be a player with a ceiling like Gigi Jackson, or it could be like a Jalen Hood-Schifino. Dynamic scorer. He's a lot like Kobe Buffkin, just not as good of a playmaker at this point. But I really like Jalen Hood-Schifino and Gigi Jackson's ceiling for sure. How about you, Kyle?
Yeah, I would agree. It would depend on fit for a lot of these players, but for me, it would be Jalen from Indiana as well, or possibly the I'm just drawing a blank on who that was, but who did you say as well? I think I agree with him too.
G.G. Jackson.
Yeah, there's another point guard that I'm thinking of.
Sasser.
Yeah,
Maybe him. Yeah,
Sure.
I really like Sasser. I'm hoping, praying the Pistons get him a 31.
But if he goes to a team where he's not going to get any run or any real, kind of like Jaden Hardy, where he'll just kind of play here and there, he'll show out when he does play. But
Kind of like Cam
that's
Thomas too.
Yeah.
That's literally be the point guard for a team for
Yeah.
their like turn
Well-
if it's correctly.
Especially too, like Hardy, when he had his playing time, he showed out, and I think he proved himself that the Mavericks absolutely have to play him at least 20 minutes a game in the future as their third guard. With Hardy, he could be a guy like that where he goes underdrafted based on some people thinking he's one of the better point guards in the draft, and then comes out and shines for a contender who scooped him up in the second round.
Yeah, for all
But
these
yeah,
guys,
definitely all those guys down there.
it's all about fit for them and getting opportunity. So we'll see what happens. But there's a number of guys like we mentioned.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Robo. This is our first episode for All Bark. In the description below, we're going to have all the Twitters, Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts, all of our accounts that we're going to be creating. Go take a look at them. If you enjoy it, follow them, subscribe, and then get ready for some more content. We're going to start pushing out content like crazy. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the lottery and enjoyed the video. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.
See you guys.